So welcome to the Android workshop for HackDavis. So my name is Matthew and I'm from the Davis Computer Science Club. So just to start off, so I believe that some of you have I think one of you guys have mentioned about your background in Android Studio. So is it possible for everyone to share what are your proficiency level in Android Studio?
And feel free to use the participants tab, like the reactions to do it. So you can just hit reactions, and then I think we'll go with, if you feel pretty confident, you can use yes. And then if you're feeling a little bit more beginner level, you can hit no, or yeah, any of the in-betweens. You can hit any other reactions.
Awesome. Yeah, I've been seeing quite a mixed response over here. So I'll probably start by explaining. So what is Android? Let me show you a cool mascot of Android as a hint. Anyone wants to make a guess what it is? Or if you guys have been seeing that before or something like that? Anyone? Well, uh, hmm. All right, so yeah, it might seem as a large robot if you have to guess it for the first time, but apparently Android is the mobile operating system developed by Google. And according to the latest survey by Global Stats Counter, it has roughly 72.48% of global OS global mobile OS share compared to 26.91% of Apple. But now I'm not going to compare Apple with Android since both operating system have their pros and cons, but I'm trying to show you about how big Android is right now. So the next question is why am I seeing a different flavors of Android? Well, it's because the Android is an open source OS, and Google has released this Android OS to different phone manufacturers, so that they can modify the original Android into their suitable needs. So one of an example is One UI of Samsung, a MIUI from Xiaomi, and Oxygen OS from OnePlus, if you guys ever heard of it. So, do we need a different tool to develop in different flavors? Well, the answer is no, because all you need is one simple tool. It's called Android Studio. So, what are the tools provided by Android Studio? So, an Android Studio has given a software development kit, SDK, and a tons of Android UI libraries. For example, edit text, text view, button, card view, recycler view, etc. So does anyone wants to guess? There are two UI that I'm showing in the slides. Does anyone wants to guess which one is which? Maybe feel free to unmute yourself.
Are you asking what their name is in the IDE?
Yes, what are the UI, the one that I'm showing over here, the one on the left and the one on the right. So yeah.
The right one's edit text. Is
Uh-huh.
that right? And the left one is just button.
Yes, that's perfectly right. So the left one is actually a button, and the right one is the input is a edit text where you can input the text on it. So yeah. So in what language are we developing an Android application? So for the UI, we need to use XML. That's, I think, pretty much the guideline for Android Studio. And for the program, we can either use Java or the newly developed Kotlin language. apparently both of them supports like object oriented, so I think that's pretty much better. And for this demo, I'll be using Java since like I've been developing several applications in Java and XML. So the next questions you might be wondering is like, what are the difference between console programming to Android or like mobile applications programming? So in console-based programming, we need to like define a main functions which will be like executed first when the code is running. Like for example, if you are pressing dot slash like the application's name, the main function will be like executed there. Like you have to make a supporting functions where like you can build your own logic from there. But like in Android or like any other mobile applications development, we will have like a separate life cycles that we can program. For example, like we can specify the application behavior when the user is opening their app for the first time, or maybe like if they are closing the app, resumes looking at the app, and many more. More than that, we can also specify like the behavior of the program when like the users performs a specific functions. Like for example, when they are clicking the button, like we can specify what kind of behaviors do we want. Also, like what, for example, when we are inputting into edit text, we can also specify the behavior when like the user types like a specific word. Like for example, if they are entering a new word or like deleting, we can actually specify a behavior from there. So demo time, and I'll show you an Android Studio. So let me start by showing you like the latest, like the last projects that I think the last big projects that I've been developing in Android Studio. So let me share screen. All right. So this app is actually kind of big in my opinion because like I develop it in several activities. So yeah, it might seems big in the first, like if you're looking at the first time, but like it actually has like a two big features that you guys have to be concerned about. Like on the top here is a list of all the Java classes and all the Java, like the Java code. And below here is all the set of like the XML files that we need to bother about. So if we want to start from the beginning, we have to start from the XML file, because like this XML specifies like all the list of all behaviors that, no, I mean the set of like the design of the uh, the activity. For example, here we have activity dashboard.xml. In here we can specify like the code to like determine the design layer of it. And for example, in here that it's dashboard, I have the ID of I believe I don't think I put ID in here. So for example, in this image button over here, I specify an ID of back, which will be like linked to the Java activity on the dashboard here, so that I can specify the behavior when the user are like clicking this back button. Does it make sense for everyone? Or does anyone like want to ask any questions before I continue?
If anyone has a question, please feel free to unmute yourself or say it in the chat, and one of the moderators, we can just read it out loud to Matthew.
Could you repeat what you were talking about, like the ID?
All right. So we'll start from this start then. Like it, for like my big project over here, it's actually divided into two parts. So on the top here, where my cursor is pointing at, if you guys can see my cursor right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, so on the top here, it's it's a list of all Java classes, like the Java code that I have. So this Java code specifies like the behavior of the program of this XML activities that we want. And below here, we are having a layout XML file where we can have like the design feature uh, of this Android. So for example, over here in the activity dashboard, so I'm having this button called image button where it's actually a back button over here. And I specify the ID for back such that I can actually link this back button into this Java classes of dashboard. And I can specify the behavior when the user is clicking this back button. For example, I want this to go back to like another activity. Does it make sense?
Yeah, could you show us what the dashboard class code looks like?
All right, so the dashboard class looks like this. So the image button of back is actually here. And then I declare it in Oncreate. So Oncreate is one of the life cycles of Android where it's actually executed when the user first opened the activity. So back is linking to the RID of back, which this one has to be the same name as the one on here. So for example, if I'm specifying it to be like back number 2, then for the dashboard, I have to specify it as back number 2. Otherwise, if it like linked to the ID with the wrong name, then it will probably return you an error, or yeah, it will stop running. So yeah, does it make sense? Or yeah,
Yeah, thank you.
All right, so why don't we start by starting a new project then? So let's start a new empty activity over here, and let's call it call my name. So the purpose of like this new project is that like we are going to type out like our name on the edit text, and then like once we click on the button, it will send a greeting to the text view, so that like you guys can understand how you can specify like a behavior to one of the UI of it. So the language here I selected to be in Java. So you might see like a minimum SDK around here. So one of the problems of Android is that like since Android is pretty fragmented, as I can say, the users might have like some of the like the OS for the Android might be like quite outdated for some people. As you can see, like we still have like people running in Android 4.0 or like even less than that. So like the minimum SDK is like the minimum level of Android updates that we need before for the applications to run properly. And if for example, if I set it to be like in Android 8.0, a user in Android 7.1 cannot use the app. So it's like so this Android Studio basically like handles everything. So all we have to do is just to specify like the minimum SDK. Does it make sense for everyone? All right, so I didn't see any response, so I'll continue. So, all right, so it will load up for a bit. All right, so I think it stops running and it's done. So over here, we can have like a different view of like the files that we have. We can have like in the project view, we can have in the packages view, or we can have like a different types of view over here. But I usually prefer it to be in Android because like it automatically like segregates all the Java classes along with like the layout classes over here. So let's open activity main.xml. So this is like the activity where like you first came into like when the app starts running at the beginning,
I
it
have a
will
question.
start from activity main.
Your screen is frozen, so we can't really see what's going on.
Oh, my bad. Wait, that's weird.
Good.
All right, so we have like a different like the views on here. So like we can have like a project view, a packages view, project files, well, and any other like views. But I usually enjoy like having it in Android view over here because like it clearly like segregates which one belongs to which. So like for example, main activity here is actually a Java class and the activity main is an XML class. So I think it's separating it properly. So yeah. And if you open the activity main.xml, you'll be starting with this view with the hello world on it. Does anyone in the same page as I am right now, or should I wait for you guys? All right, perfect. So I usually enjoy like doing it on split because like I don't really do so much of like drag and drop for this like XML. I usually do it in here. So in the split, you can have like a code where you can actually see how does this coding become like this design. I think that's pretty much about like the split view over here. And so we'll start with like this constraint layout. We're having a text view with the hello world on it. So I might change it to another layout. So it's a relative layout. And then over here, so what's the difference between like the relative layout and the constraint layout? Is that like in the constraint layout, it's more of like you have to define which locations you want it to be. But in relative layout, you can also specify like whether you want it to be like in center for like all the different screens that you are on or like something else. And also if you can see over here, it has like a field for layout width and a layout height, and it's both set to like match parent, meaning that like it will match whatever size the container is. For example, like I'm having an Android with like certain size, it will fit like fully to the parent. So like it will fit to like the size of my phone for like every Android phone that I have. So yeah. Also, this text view, the width is wrap content and the height is also wrap content, meaning that if we expand on this, for example, hello world, I am blah blah blah, it will automatically like adjust the size of it. The user doesn't have to like specify anything. So this is let's just delete this first, and then we can since I told you like about the relative layout that we can actually have it in the center align. let's just have it center horizontal, make it true. It makes like the text to be like aligned horizontally, like center. So yeah. Layout center vertical is true. It like the center vertical is making like the text to be like center like centrally aligned for like the vertical axis, so that now it is right in the middle of everything now. We can have like, we can increase this text size. So the text size, we can increase it to be like, for example, 20 dp to make it bigger, so that in here we can have like so the unit for like the text size is not necessarily to be in dp, but I usually like put it in dps, and but you can also put like in points, or you can put it in px. Px is like the pixel, so like if you are coming from the background of a web development, I think you can use px over here. It's pretty similar to the px on html or css. So let's just change it to dp over here. So one thing about dp is that like the dp is actually adjusting from like the default font size that you are using on the Android phone. For example, like if we have it to be bigger, it's like dynamically adjusting to like the percentage of it, of like the text size on the phone. So yeah. All right. So let's just have an edit text over here. So we're going to set the width to 50 dp. I think that should be good enough. And the height, let's make it to wrap content. All right. So now you can see that I put like the edit text on top, and now I want it to be centrally aligned. So I can have like center vertical to true. I can have a center horizontal to true. But the problem is like the edit text is like directly on top of the text view, which is like another problem, because like you shouldn't have like the things laying on top of each other, right, on design. So what are we going to do is that I'm going to specify an ID for this text view to be like the text output. I might use this later too for like the Java class, but like for now, I'm going to introduce you to like a new, I need to specify this ID text input. So in the text output, which is like the text view, I'm going to specify below, layout below of text input. So you see the text output, the text output is directly below text input right now. So it's, oh yeah, I see a question. Do I have to specify at ID whenever settling the ID? Yes, it's actually part of like the like a language. I think we have to like specify it to be in ID. So if you can directly write ID over here, and then you see like there is a first one in the drop down, and then you can just click on tab, I think, and then you can have text input. Yes. Does that answer your questions, Josh?
Yeah, thank you.
All right. So I forgot to mention. So I need to, so this, and then let's introduce to like a new like parameter for this edit text. So there's something called hint. So for hint, let's specify it to be please input your name. So hint is basically like telling the user to like what they are supposed to do. And then like once the user like clicks on the edit text, usually this text will be gone and the user can input anything they want after that. And graffiti to be center. So what happened with this graffiti is that like we're going to set like the text in this edit text to be like centrally aligned. So there is a center vertical as well, and center horizontal. So this center vertical and center horizontal, we can reduce this redundancy by saying center. So it's all good for now. Does anyone have any questions?
Sorry, could you repeat what gravity was?
So gravity is like specifying about like the I think it's like, no, it's gravity is like making for example like this gravity center, it's specifying like this, the text should be centrally aligned. So specifying like the alignment for the text. For example, if let's say I have like, for example, I have 350, so I can make it bigger over here. So for example, I can specify this gravity to be on the right. So now the text will be like aligned to the right. But now if I want to cap it on the left, I can also put it like, I can specify like the gravity to be on the left. And also I think let's make this to be bigger. So for example, 250 dp. So for example, we have such a big edit text over here. We haven't specified like at which like vertical alignment this text should be. So like for example, if we specify it to be on the top, it will be something like this. But for example, if we specify it to be in center vertical, so like the vertical alignment will be in the center in here. And we can also specify it for the bottom. All you need to do is insert the pipe in the middle. So like you can have like a left pipe bottom, left pipe right, for example. You can do that. No, I mean left pipe center. You can have something like that. But for now, I'm going to make it in center so that it's aligned with like centrally horizontal and centrally vertical. So yeah. Let's adjust this height to be wrap content. So does that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you.
All right, perfect. So let's input a button over here. So let's make the width to be 350 dp. I think this is kind of too big. Let's make it 250. And the height to be wrap content. So let's make the ID of submit. And so like just a quick question, if you guys are following, how can I make this button to be in the middle of this, like this to UI item? Does anyone want to like give a solution for it? Anyone? Jose, do you want to like do you want to give a shot?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
So you see there's a button I put in the middle of like this edit text and the text view. But apparently on the layout, if you see over here, the button is actually on the top. But I want to put it like in the middle of like this text input and the text output. How can I do that?
Let's see.
So a big hint, you need to adjust like the layout below, and and you need to do like one more step too. So yeah.
Would you put the button layout? You add the layout below tag in edit tag. No, in the button with the ID below text input.
All right. Below text input.
And then for text view, change layout below for with ID / submit.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, I think you got it now. Yes. So this is all like the button is not in the middle, but the button is not aligned properly. So we're just putting it to be centrally horizontal. And yeah, also good job, Jose. I think you got it so far. And we can specify the text to be, for example, submit. So yeah, and let's clear this text from here. All right, so we'll go to the Java activity where we can actually specify what are the behaviors of like the UI element over here. Let's start with the button. We need to declare everything first, so we can declare, for example, button. And now we have to import. So if you see over here, we got like an error. It's actually not an error. If you're using a Mac, you can see like there's a hint over here that what should you do in order for you to import. So options, return, and import class. So it's already imported for now. And now we can have like a button named submit. We can name it to be anything. For example, we can name it to be submit button for now. And then on the Oncreate instance, we can declare this submit button to be like submit button find view by ID r.id. So we have to specify with the same ID as what we are using on this Android ID in the XML. So we can specify it to be submit. And it's one way for you to like instantiate and like declare this variable button over here. So we can do it for like the remaining UI, the one that we are actually interested in like specifying the behavior for. For example, we can have like an edit text to be text input, and then text input find view by ID, text input. Actually, this is not the only way. You can also like declare the top one first and then like having it like connected to the XML later on. But I usually try to like do it in this way because like I usually there's sometimes that I might forget to like declare this like linking this variable into like the XML, and I don't think that's I don't think that's actually pretty good for like the program, as it might like crash. So it's better for us to like declare everything first. So for example, we have like a text view, text in, text output, and then like the same thing, options return to import it. So yeah, now it's already imported so far. And also there's a feature of Android Studio, if you can see it over here. So if the variable is unused, you might see it in the like dark like grayish color. But like if it is like declared and if it is like used already, it will be like in a violet color. So the color difference might signify like whether the variable has been used or not so far. So yeah. Does anyone like have any questions so far, or should we continue? All right, I'll take that as yes. So, yeah, next output, that's fine. View by ID r.id.text output. All right. So what behaviors do we want to specify? So we want to specify when the user clicks on this submit button, it will return like a greeting like hello plus their name in the input, like from the text input. So let's just specify like a call button for this, like for example, submit button dot set on click listener, view on click listener. So this will create an override on click for this submit button. So now like whenever the user clicks on the submit button, this chunk of code will be executed. Does it make sense to everyone?
Can you say that again?
So I'll repeat. So for example, I have here that set on click listener. Before I enter this line, so whenever I click this submit, nothing will be performed. So like now when I click the submit button, set on click listener, new view on click listener. So like once I specify this override function, whenever I click this submit button, after that, this chunk of code will be executed in this onClick function. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
All right. So let's just specify. So the flowchart is like the user input the name and then click the submit. So whenever the user click the submit button, it will input like this input text over here, and then like paste it in the output with the greeting. So what we want specifically in the lines of code, we want it to be something like this. So text output dot set text. So we are setting the text on the text output. So we are having a hello, and then we can have plus. Plus is like the concatenate, but without the space on Java. And then we can have it to take a text input dot get text dot toString, and then probably getting another exclamation, and that's it. So this text input dot get text dot toString is like taking a string from the text input. Like whenever the user is inputting, it will take all the inputs that's currently there and then like place it in form of string over here. Does it make sense?
What type does it return if you don't have toString?
if we don't have toString, let's see. It will be an editable type, which is not. I don't think it is like quite compatible with string. So yeah. So if you see over here, I think I think Android Studio did a pretty good job over here of like specifying what type will it return after like after getting the functions from. So yeah, .toString return in string. So it should be good. Also, another behaviors that I want to specify is that like I want the text input to be empty after I executed this, like after I click on this button. So text input dot set text to be just empty. That's it. So I believe this is it for like the code for like our specification. So let me hold on. Let me share the screen again. I'm still looking. You guys can see the screen right now. So on the right over here, we are having like an Android simulator. You can call it something like that. And how to operate that is simply by it's gone. Oh, there was a play button on the top of Android Studio. It used to be there, but I don't know why it suddenly appears here. So let's just rerun the app and see how can we actually run it. So I think it's yeah. So for example, if we want the input to be, for example, Matthew, for example, and then let's have this off, and then when I click submit, you see that the input text become empty, and then the text hello Matthew is printed now. Let's try it with another name, for example, Jack. When you click submit, hello Jack is printed. So I want to change the program to like so that the user doesn't have to click submit, but whenever they're inputting the text, it will be like directly printed on the screen. So how am I going to do that? I'm going to use like a listener from this text input edit text. So I can have like a set text input dot set text change. Oh, text change at text change listener text watcher. Oh. All right. So if we have like a add text change listener and this new text watcher, so you will be having a 3 override functions. So before the text is changed, and when the text is changed, and what happened after the text is changed. So now I'm going to specify it on text change. So whenever the user changes the text, it will output this. So it will output like the text output dot set text to be like hello, and then text, and then like getting the text in the text input, whatever it might be. And to show you that it works without the submit button, I might remove like this bunch of code so that like now when I click on the submit button, nothing will happen. So yeah, let me rerun this. Yes, now it's already here. Let's see. Let's have. You see, I don't have to click on the submit, and my name is already printed on the text output. So for example, let me delete one, like I see, like delete all, like the line over here. And then see, the name is printed like according to like whatever you inputted on the input text. So does anyone have any questions about this? Anyone? Well, I believe like this is now it for the demo time. Well, I open the floor if anyone wants to like ask any further questions. So yeah, thank you for being in this demo, and yeah, have a great night, everyone.